Hi and welcome to the Weekly Governance Voice. Thank you so much. And I hope you've subscribed, by the way. If you haven't, please do so. These conversations are here to help and appreciate the profession and really also appreciate governance the proper way in this country. Today, we want to have a conversation about practicing certified secretaries. We've talked about who they are, but what about the practicing side of it? Why is it important? And really to appreciate the profession. And in the house, we have FCS Reba Chabeda. I like the name, it rhymes. And she's going to help us just understand this whole subject about practicing certified secretaries. Before we get into the conversation, let's take a look at her profile. FCS Reba, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to have you. We're talking about practicing certified secretaries, and yes. I wanted to start the conversation by asking you, what does it mean to be a practicing certified secretary, and why is this role so crucial in corporate governance?
So a practicing secretary, I look at it in two ways.
Yeah.
A practicing secretary is sort of a bridge between the people in an organization. Mm-hmm. So they're a bridge between your board, they're a bridge between the internal stakeholders, that's the management, and then they are also a bridge to regulators. Mm-hmm. But when you look at when we look at the title, practicing certified secretary, this is really a governance professional who is ensuring that an organization, and it could be any type of organization, is compliant with its constitution, its regulatory framework, and most importantly, it's aligned with its ethos and its ethics and integrity. Okay. So that is actually just what holds up that title.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thanks for explaining the ethos things. I was about to wonder, it's going to be very big terms. But thanks for that elaborate explanation. Yes. And I wanted to ask, for the person who's probably watching this for the first time, they could ask the question of what are the qualifications to become one, certified secretary in Kenya, especially legal requirements, if at all there is any.
Yes, so there definitely are legal requirements to become a certified secretary. Mm-hmm. So the Act, which is the Certified Public Secretaries Act, Section 20 provides the list of requirements. Okay. But I'll just break it down for anybody who wants to jump and come to the side of the governance professionals. Yeah. So you will need to do at least 17 papers. Wow. Yes, they sound many, but they're broken down into parts. Yes. And they're examined by CASNEB, which is a body that examines various exams, including accountants. Mm-hmm. Even the certified secretaries are part of that group that is examined by them. Mm. Once you've sat and passed your 17 papers, you're required to have a workshop on research. Okay. Because in this role, you're required to learn continuously. Mm-hmm. So it was felt that it was quite important to include the research aspect into the exam as part of the exam. Mm-hmm. If you don't do the workshop, then you have the option of doing a research paper. Mm-hmm. But for now, we've seen a lot more students opting to do the workshop and just learning that practical skill. Mm-hmm. Once you're done with that, then you will be registered by the registration board for certified secretaries. Yeah. And then you'll be required to now start being in the field of practice. And that again comes with its steps. So I think just a brief...
I like it.
Yes, the steps for that.
For the student.
Yes, for the student.
Who is really now watching.
Yes.
Are the exams too hard?
They are not hard at all. I think it just takes some effort and focus. And it's not restricted to you don't have to have a background in anything else. Okay. Yes. Excellent. So you can come with a degree, but you don't need to come with a degree. You can just, get certified. Yeah. And how is it different from a lawyer who has gone through the system? Are they exempted? So a lawyer is exempted some papers, not all papers. All right. Yes. Okay. So and that goes with accountants as well. Mm-hmm. That goes with HR professionals as well. Okay. So it depends. So you'll come with your paperwork. If you have degrees in specific areas, you'll definitely come with those certificates, show what you actually did in college. Okay. And if they feel that some of those are covered in in the syllabus, then you'll be exempted from that.
Okay.
Yes. So you end up doing a few papers. So it may not be all the 17 papers. Yeah.
I just wanted to throw a shady joke and say probably if you did botany, you might end up doing all the 17. But anyway, it's a joke.
That's a new one.
Okay.
That's a new one, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about common misconceptions that
Yes.
people have, especially when it comes to this profession. But actually, before we get there, let's talk about how a certified secretary adds value to organizations' governance and, of course, compliance and strategic decision making. I want to start that conversation there. How do you see in terms of value addition?
Oh, there's so much value addition a corporate secretary adds to organizations.
Yeah.
And just as an aside, many times you get appointed to some of these roles and people don't realize the value that secretaries come with.
Yeah.
But once you're on board, they actually say, wow, we didn't know we were not doing this right. We were not, following up with this. We were not following up with this. And it really comes, the number one thing that a certified secretary adds to an organization is supporting the board.
Yeah.
So many times people start businesses or they'll be on boards for various organizations, but they do not understand the policy and governance or regulatory framework. Okay. So it is the job of the certified secretary to sort of unpack that into bite-size, edible portions for the board. Okay. So it's really just helping the board, running the meetings well, getting the right decisions out, and documenting those decisions properly. So that's the first part. The second part is advisory. During the running and operations of an organization. The certified secretary is continuously providing advisory around governance matters, compliance matters. A certified secretary is talking to regulators. So if you're a listed company, they're talking to CMA, they're having conversation with NSC. If you're a bank, maybe they're talking to CBK. They're helping you forward in terms of looking forward and ensuring that your organization is working right. A certified secretary is helping you look at your governance framework. Is it outdated? Are we updating ourselves in terms of where we are headed, emerging trends, emerging areas? So there's all this, rather than just taking minutes in a meeting and being administrative, so to speak. They're ensuring you're keeping your records properly. Because if KRA come to you, they need records from 10 years ago. You need those records kept properly. So it seems like a very small task, but it's a very important task.
Excellent.
So there's so many ways they add value. Ensuring that, of course, you're looking at risks, whether it's regulatory risk, governance risk, and any other areas that might have that, that might cut through the organization, whether it's from the strategy side or the operation side. So they're looking at it wholesomely because they are sitting with the board at the top and they're also having conversations with management.
Excellent.
So it's a wholesome task.
Wow. And even for our viewers, we had in the previous season just the basic roles covered very much in one of the episodes. So please go back there and check it out. Today we're talking about practicing ones. And thank you so much, Reba, for taking us through that. Anytime I thought about the word secretary, I would think of my village and the secretary and what their role would be until I came to appreciate this profession and the level in which is really a core, especially in boards and governance and all that. And there's still misconceptions out there, common ones that people have about this particular role of certified secretaries. And I wanted you to address a few. What are some of these common misconceptions and how can they be addressed?
I think number one, a lot of people think that the secretarial role is administrative. Yes, it has aspects of administrative work, but it also has a lot of strategic work involved. When you look at many people, when they look at a company secretary, they assume this person is to be seen and not to be heard. But that is not true.
It's not true.
The practicing company secretary must be heard because they're the ones who are helping the chairperson, the board, the committees, and guiding them in a certain way to ensure that they are within the right framework.
Yeah.
There's also this misconception that you must be a lawyer, for example, to be a corporate secretary.
Yeah.
It works well if you have both disciplines because they are complementary to each other. But it doesn't mean that the lawyers can come in and sit and be company secretaries and vice versa.
Yeah.
So of course, there's compliance, there is regulatory advice and any of that. But there are specific things that a corporate secretary needs that a lawyer may not have been trained for. Yeah. And I'm both, so I know that I have to use a different side of my brain for legal work and different side of my brain for certified secretarial work. So it's a different kind of ballgame. Yeah. The law is pretty straight. When you work with governance matters, it's a lot of adopting policies and frameworks that work for the organization you are in and for the board you're sitting on. Yeah. So it's a really different kind of side of the brain you're using as opposed to that. So I think sometimes people just interchange the fact that somebody could be a lawyer and that.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
What about the challenges that exist for a practicing certified secretary? What do they face as some of the challenges today?
So some challenges currently being faced, and it goes back to the conversation we just had around the bloodlines between the role of the corporate secretary or the certified secretary. It's the bloodlines between expecting a lawyer to be able to do your work or the other way around. Another challenge that I've seen is board dynamics. Board dynamics, again, is a very... it's not, how do I put it? It's not something that you can put in a box. Yeah. It is something that changes, dynamic, yes. It changes. Yeah. It changes depending on the board you sit on. So because I provide corporate secretarial services for different organizations, both in the commercial side, non-profit side, sometimes I work with government, I see the changes, the different people you're dealing with. Yeah. So you kind of have to adapt as you go. Yeah. Just keep in mind that you have to have your ethics and integrity forefront. That's another thing. That's another challenge. Yeah. Because we live in a country that has a lot of cutting corners, so to speak. We've just seen recently in the news the issues around, for example, the SACCO, where the officials are being taken to court for various crimes. Yeah. And some of these sectors don't necessarily require a certified secretary to sit on the board and guide them. All right? Okay. So you find there's some gaps in the law. When you look at government areas also, you'll find that some of the organization call the CEO the secretary of the board. Yeah. They may not be equipped to provide both services. They may need to focus on managing the organization and let somebody else be the certified secretary and provide that guidance. But so you find the law in some cases either does not require you to have a certified secretary or a corporate secretary sitting on the board, so advising around that and that interplay. So that can create situations like what we've seen with Cusco, which is the SACCO. They don't require.
They don't require.
Yeah. And the last one I want to talk about is technology. Okay. Technology is a disruptor. Yeah. It can also be a challenge if you're not ready for it. So as certified secretaries, we have to be ready for it.
Be ready for it, yeah.
COVID taught us a few things, and I think we have moved on from getting stuck in the way we do things. Okay. Yes. Okay. So I think,
that's true, by the way. And I think that one even cuts across in very many ways. Yes. In very many other professions.
Yes.
Thanks for that. But let's talk now a little bit more about the profession. And what I wanted to bring in is the demand. When we see even the future of the profession itself as practice secretaries, what are you seeing? What are you observing in terms of the profession itself and the demand?
Definitely there's demand because globally, locally, regionally, you'll find there are more regulatory frameworks that need to be understood by different organizations. All right? Yeah. So organizations have to stay on top of that.
Yeah.
When you look at listed organizations, there are always regulations coming up, being amended. So there's somebody who has to ensure that the board, the organization is aligned to those.
Yeah.
So those are opportunities. For me, I look at them as opportunities. Somebody else will look at it as hard works. Some of us look at it as these are opportunities.
Yeah.
The opportunities to train, opportunities to advise, opportunities to relook at our internal governance frameworks, whether it's policy, and just the way we are doing things, processes. So that's what for me I would look at it. Technology again.
Still cuts.
Technology, you have to stay ahead of the curve. You have to stay ahead of the curve to be in demand. A few years back, 2015, there was a new Companies Act that was brought into force. And a lot of company secretaries were complaining that there were changes there which affected their work. But it took those that pivoted quickly to get ahead of the curve. So in the same way, we have also to pivot with technology. We have to be able to be at the forefront of telling our boards, our organizations that we work for, people, this is the direction we are going. What should we do?
What should we do?
Right? COVID is something else which showed us that we are able to do some of these things if we put our mind to it. Previously, we would run around town going for meetings. Now we don't have to. Now we don't have to do that. We would carry these huge files, printed files, right? Now we have e-board platforms, So yes, it disrupts you, but it also teaches you that you can do better and you can do it faster. Yes.
Wow.
So it's really how you look at the challenge. You look at it as an opportunity, you'll be ahead of the game.
Wow.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I've spoken to a few CSs, Certified Secretaries. And it's interesting to see how varied the profession can be. And I wanted to ask you, especially for the ones who are aspiring. We have spoken to some and told them this is what it takes to be one, all that. Let's talk about opportunities that exist as number one. And then number two, beyond, of course, corporate governance, are there any other opportunities that are there? Such as those consultancies that I've had or board advisory. I don't know, from where you sit, what do you see as some of the other opportunities?
I think it's to remove yourself from a certain box that people need to do.
Okay.
Open up your mind. Open up your mind.
Yes.
And it goes back to the example I've given of Companies Act 2015. You have to open your mind to new possibilities. I don't think that company secretaries or certified secretaries should be boxed. Number one, there are so many organizations that need your services, from government to the non-profit sector, to the private commercial sector, to the companies on the stock exchange. All these organizations need your services. Now it's about how you go about it, right? We have to look at how we are adding value to those organizations, to those boards. So whether it is reviewing policy, whether it is providing training, whether it is governance reviews, whether they are governance audits, whether they are board evaluations, all that is work.
Absolutely.
If you can be an advisor to a person in government around governance matters, that is a job. You can help, for example, and we are always complaining as Kenyans that we are not in the public space. There are so many bills that are being drafted every day. Give your comments. That's part of it. You can even support your local MCA, your local MP.
So
help them.
Absolutely.
Decipher all these governance conversations, right? So I think it's how we look at and how we approach the job, the title. For young people, it's really about doing the work. I think a lot of people want to shortcut their way into the limelight, but it doesn't work that way, right? We have been at this for 10, 15, others 20 years, others 30 years, others 40 years. So it doesn't come overnight. You have to put in the work. You have to go back to your institute, support it, There are things the Institute is doing. For example, they are always having the assessment awards for different organizations in different sectors. Provide your services for free. In doing that, you learn, get experience, and can use that as a reference point. That's what we did.
I love that.
That's what we did. So not everything should have a monetary return. There's still work I do for the Institute, even now. As an FCS. You should think I should have retired because I have that title. But no, I have just begun supporting the Institute. So I think when we put ourselves in that space, we need to look at it from a point of view of how can we support the Institute? And in doing that, you'll find that the support from the Institute and just the networks you're building, the experience you're gaining grows you. I don't know if I've answered your question or I've digressed.
No, it's actually a very good context that you've given.
Yes.
And it's really an eye-opening for opportunities we could get and all that, and what we're seeing as well. And I think
maybe I could add something. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. Yes.
There's a lot of conversation in the PE space. This is private equity space.
Yes.
A lot of people need people to do due diligence around governance now. Because governance is a big thing. Jump into that space. There's a lot of conversation around family business. Family businesses are another space which we can jump into. So there's so many, I feel like there's so many untapped opportunities, and we need to stop concentrating on the few companies that are in the newspapers. There's so much more to work with.
Lovely, especially on the Ps, because when we're talking about even trying to list them here, at the exchange, for example, and all those kind of things, there's a lot to be done.
There's a lot to be done, and
looks like it's endless.
It is. It's really, yes, you have to be open. You have to be open to partnerships. Because you don't know everything. Maybe you might need an accountant to support you. Maybe you might need a lawyer to support you. So at the end of the day, it's figuring out what works in this situation. Continue being dynamic. Continue looking forward and seeing what the emerging trends are, and jump onto that bandwagon.
There you have it. Just be open-minded.
Open-minded and do the work.
Yes.
Do the work.
Do the work as well.
Yes.
Your work
There's no shortcut. There's no shortcut for that.
So how does the Institute of Certified Secretaries support, the practicing certified secretaries in your own way, especially in regulation of the practice and upholding ethical and professional standards? I
think to begin with, they are very supportive in terms of one-on-one. If you have any query or any issue, any advisory opinion you need, you can quickly go to the Institute and they will support you. But also what they do is that they require us as practicing secretaries to be up to date with our continuous learning. So we need to continue learning. And this is what I say, what I was speaking about in terms of you have to continue seeking knowledge. There is no end to knowledge, right? So you have to continue seeking knowledge. And we do that through the CPD program. And that is for every profession that I'm associated with. So that is a good thing. They give you opportunities. I know personally as a practicing secretary, I have been given opportunities to train people and just, share what it is I'm learning from a practical point of view rather than a theoretical point of view. They are providing mentorship for younger, secretaries coming up. And I probably have forgotten some few things, but I think for me that the Institute is quite supportive. And when you work with them, they will not hesitate to give you references if you've supported in certain areas, which helps you because if you're seeking out consultancies, you're seeking out work, you need references. So I want to encourage young people especially to work with the Institute because they will get free exposure to jobs they would never get on their own. And grow from that.
There's also a place of, and you've highlighted them very well, especially the key ones. Anytime I am seeking advice in this particular profession, and I know that you belong to this body, there's a safety net that I feel. But okay, this one is getting regulated. I mean, it's being checked once in a while.
And of course, if you're found with issues around your ethical, ways, you can be reported there as well. So so at least you have that safety net that you're speaking about.
So finally, I wanted to ask you to speak to the young aspiring professionals in this, and really, some people really want to build a successful career in this. What would be your advice? Because you have seen it all.
Yeah.
I may say that. You
I haven't.
Practicing Certified Secretary.
I haven't seen it all, but I have seen some few things.
You've seen some few things.
Yes.
What would be your advice to them? Yeah.
So maybe my advice would be too long, but in short,
No. Go on.
I would go back to do the work.
Do the work.
Yes. Get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
Get involved. I think that's the only way to get real experience and to exposure to people who've done this for long. Be grounded in your ethics and integrity.
Yeah.
It will take you far.
Wow.
When you don't do that and you use shortcuts, then your reputation becomes that of shortcuts.
Yeah.
So you have to do your work, try and do it well, try and be grounded in ethics and integrity, and ride the wave, because it's not a smooth sailing journey.
Yeah.
There are different seasons for any profession. Just try and ride the wave and stay positive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Reba, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
There you go. That is Reba Chabeda. And she's, of course, a practicing Certified Secretary. We call her FCS. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope you've picked something that, listen, this is also a place to be. For me, my takeout, let your box be open. Don't think just inside it. There's so many things, emerging things that you can really tap into. So if you're considering, you're on the right track. Thank you once again. I just want to urge you and nudge you to share this, let everybody else know that these conversations are happening. Of course, you can also subscribe to our channels across all our social media handles as well, so that at least you can get engaged in the conversation. Thank you so much. See you next week.